Hi, this is Jim Stewart with SAP Cookbook and Breaking into SAP. If you're not familiar with my work, I've been working in SAP for over 15 years. I'm an SAP project manager, a subject matter expert in areas of MM, SRM, and procurement. I got my start as a technical consultant. I am was a Unix systems programmer, and moved up to ABAP programming, and moved from technical to functional work. And I've been providing interview question books to help people just like me get jobs in SAP. These were tools that I used successfully for many years to get jobs, and so I thought they would be useful to others, and they certainly have been. But the interview question books are primarily technical information, which is of utter importance. So I'm not trying to say that interview question books are dead. Quite the contrary, they're more useful than ever. But what I wanted to talk about today was persuasion and some key things that you can do in interviews aside from reciting technical facts, because I think there's a tendency certainly today to people they want to get certified, they want to get configuration training so they can kind of rattle off all the config or implementation scenarios and things like this. And I want to kind of take this to the next level in terms of preparing for interviews. So I'm going to share with you one of the best things. It's not a trick, but it's a method or a means of persuasion. As we know, we like people that we can identify with, and we want to hire people that we like. So. In the technical recruitment process, it's very, it's tough. You have two people on the phone. They're trying to get a sense of who each other are, and it's very hard. So I have I have developed a formula over the years that's based on something developed in thousands and thousands of years ago by this famous Roman Cicero. Cicero said that the foundation of persuasive speech came down to three things: ethos, logos, and pathos. And those are Greek words, right? I think ethos is identity, logos is logic, and then pathos is sort of emotion. So in these videos, I'm recording a couple videos for you I'm going to share with you that help you understand this sort of art of persuasion and in how it applies to getting jobs in SAP. So the first thing is ethos or identity. If you're not aware of hiring practices and who sort of works in big companies and big corporations, and you're not aware of the identity of SAP project manager, you need to be, because this is the person that's going to hire you. And if you want to be successful being hired by an SAP project manager, you need to resonate. You need to be identifiable to this person that on the other end of the phone. So what I recommend, and what you need to practice or even write down, is what is your ethos? What's your identity? And breaking into SAP as a product, I go into detail, in depth about what the identity of project managers are, what their hot buttons are, what things you need to say to them, things you need to avoid. I go into great depth, but just skimming the surface, the identity. You need to cover who you are. Are you a son, a father, a husband, a domestic partner? Are you a brother, a sister? What's your identity? Where do you live? Where are you from? This is the part of your identity that everybody can identify with. So, when we're interviewing for I'm a SAP project manager myself, and when I'm interviewing, it's a hard. You need somebody yesterday, and you got 20 resumes in front of you, and you've gone through, and you've talked to people on the phone. And how do you remember in a concrete manner who all these people are? It's very rarely is the decision made on, oh yeah, that guy really knew. He knew the third or fourth checkbox on this particular configuration screen was the right. It's these gotcha technical questions. That's really not how hiring decisions are made. I mean, really, if I recall, it's like, oh, the guy from Philadelphia, or oh, the guy that went on vacation to LA and now he's in Cincinnati, or the guy who happens to be in Detroit right now, down the street, and he happens to go to the same restaurant. He mentioned we both went to the same restaurant in Detroit. Oh, okay, get that guy here. It ends up being the person that, in many cases, it ends up being the person that can be persuasive with their identity. And so when you're talking about ethos, when you're in an interview, you need to convey, in a very concrete and visceral manner, your identity, who you are. Hey, my name's Jim. I live in Riverside, and I bought a house there because it was the only place in Los Angeles where you can buy a house for less than $1 million. And I've got 2 kids that keep me up all night, and my wife is, I've been home for 3 months now, and my wife wants me to get out of the house. So that's one example of, an identity, and you can write this down and practice it, and figure out try to figure out as much about who's going to hire you as you possibly can. Make some guesses about their identity and try to craft an ethos statement for your interview that conveys in as personal and as visceral a manner as possible. And I think you'll find that in addition to the other 2 pieces, ethos, logos, and pathos, and I'll talk about those later, it'll help you nail those interviews. So talking about ethos, pathos, and logos, these are sort of, most people working in SAP, they want to talk about concrete settings or configuration. And certainly the training programs talk about, learn the FICO or learn the BW or learn these. No, breaking into SAP, and by the way, breaking into SAP 2.0, I'm going to re-release it in about a week. This is training that cuts a little bit deeper. It tells you how to go about getting the job, how to go about getting the interviews. There is a great deal of technical information and configuration, and we provide access to a practice SAP system, so you can actually go in and do the transactions and do the config and actually have hands-on. You can get experience this way with breaking into SAP 2.0. But what I'm providing it's more like advice. Okay, these videos. It's a one-on-one. It's advice from an SAP project manager, somebody who's been working in the business their whole career about how to go about getting a job. And I think you'll find that advice is far more valuable than just a list of config. I hear every day from people calling me like, "Hey, I just paid $2,500 for a class, and I didn't learn anything." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, duh. Did you think you were going to learn anything from walking through basis settings?" So in any case, I'm not here to sell that class. I wanted to give you something you can use. I think if you focus on ethos and identity and come up with a 20-second statement to make in your interview, something casual that conveys who you are in a very concrete and visceral way, I think that's really going to help your interview efforts. Breaking into SAP has extensive information, detailed information about appropriate identities and appropriate ways to talk to project managers, and I encourage you to get involved with breaking it into SAP if you can. But other than that, I want to keep these videos rather short. Keep your eyes open for the next video on logos, and we'll talk about the second sort of thing you can include in your interviews to be more persuasive and to help push you closer to getting that job in SAP. So I hope this helps. This is Jim Stewart with SAP Cookbook and Breaking into SAP 2.0.